Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanamittakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Saranyakaro Radha Krishna Padarabinda Pashana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalago. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they're honored all over the 3 worlds, and they're worth taking shelter of because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. And we are studying the Nectar of Devotion. This is the summary study of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and it is presented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we're reading from the first edition, copyright 1970, from ISKCON Press. And this is available for free download from the website krishnapath.org. So this is chapter 31. This is symptoms of ecstatic love, and chapter 31 is additional symptoms. All of the above-mentioned 31 symptoms of ecstatic love are called vyabhichari, or disturbing. All these symptoms refer to apparently disturbed conditions, but even in such disturbed conditions, there is acute ecstatic love for Krishna. These symptoms, however, can be divided into 3 groups: first class, second class, and third. There are many other disturbing symptoms in ecstatic love, such as envy, anxiety, pride, jealousy, conclusion, cowardliness, forgiveness, impatience, hankering, regret, doubtfulness, and impudence. These are included in all the 31 conditions of ecstatic love. Srila Rupa Goswami has very nicely analyzed the different kinds of disturbing symptoms, and although it's very difficult to find the exact English equivalent for many Sanskrit words used here, his analysis will now be presented. When one becomes malicious upon seeing another's advancement of life, his state of mind is generally called envy. When one becomes frightened at seeing a lightning bolt in the sky, that fearfulness brings on anxiety. Therefore, fearfulness and anxiety can be taken as one. When someone wants to hide his real mentality, it's called avahita, or concealment. When a person wants to exhibit superiority, it's called pride. When a person wants to exhibit, it's called pride. Both of these can be classified under pretension. In a pretentious attitude, both avahita and pride are to be found. Okay, so avahita is when one wants to conceal one's real mentality, what one's really thinking. And that can be lumped in together with pride because they're both pretentious. Pride, when one wants to exhibit superiority, that's pretentious. And avahita, when one wants to conceal one's real thoughts, what they're really thinking, and that's also pretentious. When one cannot tolerate an offense committed by another, it's called amarsha. And when one cannot tolerate the opulence of another, it's called jealousy. Jealousy and amarsa are both caused by intolerance. So amarsa cannot tolerate an offense by another, become offended by someone. Cannot tolerate when one cannot tolerate an offense committed by another, it's called amarsa. And one cannot tolerate the opulence of another, it's called jealousy. And they are together because they're both caused by intolerance. When one is able to establish the correct import of a word, it can be called conclusiveness. And before such a conclusive determination of import, there must be thoughtful consideration. Therefore, the act of consideration is present during the establishment of a conclusion. When one presents himself as ignorant, it's called humility. And when there is absence of enthusiasm, it's called cowardice. Therefore, in humility, there is cowardice also. One presents themselves as ignorant. That's called humility. And when there's a lack of enthusiasm, it's called cowardice. So in humility, there's also cowardice, because one is not showing enthusiasm. They're backing off and presenting themselves as ignorant. So they're not enthusiastic. A lack of enthusiasm is considered cowardice. When the mind is steadfast, it's called enduring. And when one can tolerate others' offenses, that's called endurance. Therefore, forgiveness and endurance can be synonymous. To tolerate another's offense is considered the same as forgiving the offense. When one becomes anxious for time to pass, that's called impatience. And when one sees something wonderful, one is said to be struck with wonder. Impatience may be caused by being struck with wonder. And so impatience and being struck with wonder can be synonymous. When anxiety is in its dormant stage, it's called hankering. Therefore, anxiety and hankering can also be synonymous. When one becomes regretful for some offense, his feeling is called bashfulness. In this way, bashfulness and regret can be synonymous. Doubtfulness is one of the aspects of argument. After exhibiting impudence, one becomes restless. Therefore, restlessness and impudence can be synonymous. When all such symptoms are included in ecstatic love, they're called anchari, or continuously existing ecstatic symptoms. All of these symptoms are transcendental, and they're exhibited in different ways, acting and interacting under different conditions. They are like the reciprocation of love between the lover and beloved. When a person is envious or defamed, there may be a change in the color of the body. This can be classified as vibhava or sub-ecstasy. Sometimes illusion, collapse, and strong anxiety are also considered to be vibhava. illusion collapse and strong anxiety are also considered to be vibhava. When there are many such symptoms, they can simply be grouped together under ecstatic love. Srila Rupa Goswami says that fright, sleep, fatigue, laziness, and the madness of intoxication are sometimes grouped under continuous symptoms of ecstatic love, and they are due to a strong attraction. Now, all of these are in relationship to Krishna. We see the dim reflection in the material world, material life. We see it, reflections of these emotions. And sometimes people go to the movies because they want to see these things for entertainment. But actually on the spiritual platform, these things are present. So the personality of Godhead is not impersonal. That these are the things that are going on, experiencing these things on the spiritual platform in relationship to Krishna. And they're due to a strong attraction. False argument, determination, steadiness, remembrance, joyfulness, ignorance, humility, and unconsciousness are also different symptoms of ecstatic love. Dependence is also grouped under ecstatic love, and this can be divided into superior dependence and inferior dependence. The direct differentiations between superior and inferior dependence are ascertained by Rupa Goswami and will be presented in due course. Okay, now we're going to get some examples, illustrations of these devotees who are experiencing these different things. One devotee exclaimed, quote, "Oh, I cannot see the district of Mathura. Even though by simply hearing the name of Mathura, the hairs of my body are standing up, I cannot see the place. So, of what use are my eyes?" End quote. The statement reveals a strong anxiety to see the district of Mathura, resulting from a strong attachment to Krishna. There is another instance of this strong attachment for Krishna expressed by Bhima when he began to murmur, quote, "My arms are just like thunderbolts, but despite these arms I could not smash Shishupal while he blasphemed Krishna. Therefore, of what use are these strong arms?" End quote. In this instance, Bhima became angry, and being influenced by such anger, his hopelessness became a cause for strong attachment to Krishna. This instance can be described as strong attachment for Krishna in anger. When Arjuna witnessed the universal form of Krishna, whose dazzling teeth were practically devouring the very existence of the universe, Arjuna's mouth became dried up. At that time, Arjuna forgot himself, could not understand that he was Arjuna, Krishna's friend, although he was always dependent upon Krishna's mercy. This incident is an example of inferior dependence. Some ghastly activities also support strong ecstatic love for Krishna. This state of mind is called ecstatic fearfulness under illusion. In the 10th canto, 23rd chapter, 32nd verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is the following statement by the Brahmins who were performing sacrifices. Quote, "We have all been born into 3 advantageous conditions. We are in high Brahmin families, we have ceremoniously received the sacred thread, and we are also properly initiated by a spiritual master. but, alas, in spite of all these advantages, were condemned. Even our observance of brahmachari, celibacy, is condemned." End quote. The Brahmins thus began to condemn their own activities. They realized that in spite of being so elevated by birth, education, and culture, they still were under the spell of the illusory energy. They also admitted that even great yogis who are not devotees of the Lord are covered by the influence of material energy. This kind of hopelessness felt by the Brahmins who were performing ritualistic ceremonies shows practically no attachment for Krishna. There is another hopelessness, however, which shows attachment for Krishna. When the bull demon attacked the damsels of Braj, they began to cry out, quote, "My dear Krishna, please save us. We are now gone." End quote. This is hopelessness with attachment for Krishna. So that instance of the Brahmins they realized that they were still under the spell of the illusory energy, and so they were feeling hopeless. So it wasn't hopelessness in relationship to Krishna. It was hopelessness of getting out of the material illusory energy. So not at that point of actually, he shows practically no attachment for Krishna. They're just unhappy that they still are so much influenced by material energy. Whereas this other case of hopelessness has attachment for Krishna. And the gopis were being attacked by a bull. The hopelessness was that they couldn't protect themselves, and they were depending on Krishna. Please save us. So that's different. That's hopelessness with attachment for Krishna. They were in a hopeless situation, but they were attached to Krishna. When the Keshi demon was assassinated by Krishna, Kamsa became hopeless. He began to say, quote, "Keshi Daitya was as dear to me as my own life, but he's been killed by some coward boy who is crude, uneducated, and ignorant of fighting. Even though I have defeated the King of Heaven without difficulty, still I do not know the value of life." Because this hopelessness has a slight touch of attraction for Krishna, it is considered to be a reflection of ecstatic love in hopelessness. Kamsa once rebuked Akrura by saying, quote, "You are such a fool that you're accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be a coward boy simply because he's defeated some harmless water snake. The boy may have lifted one pebble called Govardhan Hill, but what is more surprising than that is your statement that this boy is the personality of Godhead," end quote. This is an instance of maliciously opposing element caused by hopelessness in ecstatic love for Krishna. This is an instance of a maliciously opposing element caused by hopelessness in ecstatic love for Krishna. So Akrura is the one in ecstatic love. How that's hopelessness. Just making that statement to Kamsa is kind of a hopeless situation. That's the response he gets back. One devotee tried to console a kadamba tree when the tree was lamenting because Krishna had not touched even its shadow. The devotee said, quote, "My dear kadamba tree, do not be worried. Just after defeating the Kaliya snake in the Yamuna River, Krishna will come and satisfy your desire." End quote. This is an instance of inappropriate hopelessness in ecstatic love for Krishna. Inappropriate hopelessness. The tree was lamenting because Krishna had not touched even its shadow. Inappropriate hopelessness. Garuda, the eagle carrier Vishnu, once said, quote, "Who can be more pure than I? Where is there a second bird like me, so able and competent? Krishna may not like me. He may not wish to join my party, but still he has to take advantage of my wings." End quote. This is an instance of hopelessness in the neutral mood of ecstatic love. Hopelessness. The symptoms of ecstatic love are sometimes grouped under 4 headings, namely generation, conjunction, aggregation, and satisfaction. Krishna once told Radharani, quote, "My dear friend, when you tried to meet me alone in the morning, your friend Mekhala remained hungry with envy. Just look at her." End quote. When Krishna was joking with Radharani in this way, Radharani moved her beautiful eyebrows crossly. Rupa Goswami prays that everyone may become blessed by this movement of Srimati Radharani's eyebrows. This is an instance of the generation of malice in ecstatic love of Krishna. One night, after the Putana demon had been killed, baby Krishna could be seen playing upon her breast. Upon seeing this, Yasoda became stunned for some time. This is an example of a conjunction of various symptoms of ecstatic love. The conjunction can be auspicious or inauspicious. That the Putana demon had been killed was auspicious, but that Krishna was playing on her breast in the dead of night with no one to help him in case of trouble was inauspicious. Yasoda was caught between auspiciousness and inauspiciousness. After Krishna had just learned to walk, he was going in and out of the house very frequently. Yasoda became surprised and said, quote, "This child is too restless and cannot be controlled. He is incessantly going about the neighborhood of Gokula, Vrindavan, and then he is coming back inside the house. I see that the child is very fearless, but in spite of his fearlessness, I'm becoming more and more afraid of his falling into some danger." End quote. This again is an instance of the conjunction of 2 opposing elements. The child was very fearless, but at the same time Yasoda was becoming fearful of some danger. Here, danger is the cause. Yasoda's feelings are in the conjunction of 2 opposing elements. In other words, Yasoda was feeling both happiness and doubt, or growing fear. So she was happy that he's fearless, but she was fearing that there would still be some danger. Two opposing symptoms. When Devaki, the mother of Krishna, saw her son very jubilant in the presence of the wrestlers in Kamsa's arena, 2 kinds of tears were simultaneously gliding down her cheeks. Sometimes her tears were warm and sometimes they were cold. This is an instance of a conjunction of jubilation and lamentation due to different causes of ecstatic love. Jubilation at seeing Krishna, but lamentation that he was dealing with these ugly brutes, these wrestlers. Once when Srimati Radharani was standing on the bank of the Yamuna River in the forest of Vrindavan, she was attacked by Krishna, who was stronger than she. Although she externally expressed a disturbed mood from this incident, within herself she was smiling and feeling great satisfaction. Externally she moved her eyebrows and made a show of rejecting Krishna. In this mood Radharani looked very beautiful, and Srila Rupa Goswami glorified her beauty. This is an instance of exhibiting varying feelings in ecstatic love, although the cause is one only, Krishna. Sometimes there were great festivals in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and all of the inhabitants of Vrindavan would assemble for these festivals. During one such festival, Srimati Radharani was seen wearing a golden necklace given her by Krishna. This was immediately detected by Mother Yasoda, as well as by Radharani's mother, because the necklace was too long for Radharani's neck. At the same time, Radharani could see Krishna nearby, as well as her own husband Abhimanyu. So all of these things combined to make Radharani feel very much ashamed, and with her face shriveled, she began to look very beautiful. In this case, there was a combination of bashfulness, anger, jubilation, and lamentation. This is an instance of an aggregate of symptoms of ecstatic love. Kamsa once said, quote, "What harm can this boy do to me? He has no power." End quote. The next moment, Kamsa was informed that all of his friends had been killed by the boy. Then Kamsa began to think in perplexity, quote, "Shall I go immediately and surrender unto him? But how can a great warrior do this?" End quote. The next moment he thought, quote, "Why should I be afraid of him? There are still so many wrestlers standing to support me." End quote. But then the next moment he began to consider, the boy is certainly not uncommon. He's lifted Govardhan Hill with his left hand. So what can I do in this connection? Let me go to Vrindavan and inflict pain on all the residents there. But still I cannot even go out, because my heart is trembling from fear of this boy." End quote. This condition of Kamsa's mind reveals an instance of pride, lamentation, humility, determination, remembrance, doubtfulness, anger, and fear. Actually, 8 different symptoms comprise the mental condition of Kamsa. This is another instance of an aggregate of symptoms in hopeless ecstatic love. One householder devotee once said, quote, "My Lord, I'm so wretched that these 2 eyes are never desiring to see the glorious city of Mathura. Therefore my eyes are actually condemned. I'm nicely educated, but my education has simply been used in government service. I have not considered formidable time, stronger than anything else, which creates and annihilates everything. To whom shall I leave all of my wealth and fortune? I'm becoming older and older. What shall I do? Shall I execute devotional service from here at home? This I cannot do, because my mind is being attracted by the transcendental land of Vrindavan." This is an instance of hopelessness, pride, doubtfulness, patience, lamentation, determination, and eagerness, an aggregation of 7 different symptoms in ecstatic love for Krishna. There's a proverb in Sanskrit which says, quote, "Disappointment gives rise to the greatest satisfaction." End quote. In other words, when one's sentiment or ambition becomes too great and is not fulfilled until after seemingly hopeless tribulation, that is taken as the greatest satisfaction. Once, the cowherd boys in Vrindavan were vainly searching after Krishna for a long time, and for that reason their faces became blackened, their complexion appeared faded. Just then they could hear on the hill a faint vibration from Krishna's flute. Immediately all of them became very much gladdened. This is an instance of satisfaction in the midst of disappointment. Sri Rupa Goswami says that although he has no expert knowledge about the sounds and meanings and mellows of the symptoms of ecstatic love, he has tried to give some examples of different varieties of love of Krishna. He further states that the 31 disturbing symptoms of ecstatic love plus 9 other symptoms all taken together equal 40 primary symptoms of ecstatic love. These symptoms create transformation of bodily activities as well as movements of the senses. All of them can be accepted as different feelings of the heart. Sometimes some of the feelings are quite natural, and sometimes some of the feelings are just temporary appearances. Those symptoms which are very natural always remain, both within and without the devotee. As one can detect the color of dye of a cloth, a cloth was soaked in by looking at the cloth, so, simply by understanding the different signs of these symptomatic features, one can understand the actual position. In other words, although attachment for Krishna is one, nevertheless, because there exist different kinds of devotees, such attachment is manifested in many varieties. As clothing tinged red appears red, so the temporary appearance of a certain type of feeling can be detected or observed by the specific ecstatic symptom. In fact, all the different humors and mellows of the devotees possess various specific feelings within the mind. And according to these differences, the symptoms of ecstatic love appear in different forms and degrees. Read that sentence again. In fact, all the different humors and mellows of the devotees possess various specific feelings within the mind. According to these differences, the symptoms of ecstatic love appear in different forms and degrees. If one's heart is highly elevated, grave, and magnanimous, or if one's heart is rough and crude, different symptoms of ecstatic love will appear, influenced by the condition of the heart. Actually, people cannot generally understand such different qualities of mentality, but when one's heart is very soft and gentle, these symptoms become very easily visible, and one can understand very clearly. The heart of one who is highly elevated and grave. When there is an ecstatic sensation, no. The heart of one who is highly elevated and grave is compared with gold. If one's heart is very soft and gentle, his heart is compared with a cotton swab. When there is an ecstatic sensation within the mind, the golden heart or the grave heart is not agitated, but the soft heart immediately becomes agitated. So I'm going to have to stop there. Hare Krishna.